All right. So right now, I am so happy that you have joined me. We have Mr. Sherdale Smith. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And first of all, I always like to start by just talking about our relationship and how I know the person that I'm interviewing. And so I would love to hear from your perspective. How did we meet, Sherdale? Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
Well, tell us how we met, sir.
Oh man, so I met Ashante. This could have been in 97, 98. Uh, oh gosh. I was kind of out of the church circle, if you will, um, living in LA, and someone invited me to Avalon Church of Christ. Um, and that's where I started to go to church and we started a choir. And this choir was one of the nice choirs that I've had to teach. And you were one of the singers in the choir.
Hmm.
You were an alto
Hmm.
that was supposed to sing soprano.
You used to make me sing soprano, but I've never been a soprano. But anyway,
You had the range
yeah.
of a soprano, but that's where I met Ashante, and we sang, we traveled, we it was a great little family thing back in the day. So yes, that's where I remember meeting and remembering your voice, your poise. So yes, ma'am.
Yes. So yes, you were my choir director. I was coming out of high school and still figuring my voice out. And so I feel like working with you really helped me to figure out what my voice could do and how to use it. And I remember the thing that sticks with me to this day. We went to the McDonald's Gospel Fest, and I got a chance to sing at the Shrine Auditorium in front of thousands of people, and it was a wonderful experience. And we actually ended up winning that year.
First
And
place, yes, ma'am.
I was just like, oh my goodness, an amazing experience. And you went back a few times and won that competition. So I,
Yeah.
kudos to you because it was all your direction and your guidance that enabled that to happen. But really quickly, before we get into your story, would you please just introduce yourself and who you are today? What is it that you do? What's your official title? If you have one, I don't know. You do so many different things.
I've been a servant all of my life. Even when I didn't think I was a servant, I was serving somebody, doing something to help something. Um, my name is Sherdale Smith. Uh, I've come to learn that there's a meaning of my name.
Really?
Um, yeah, maybe I'll share that later. But from Brookhaven, Mississippi, born and raised in the country of the South, Mississippi, and by way of music, found my way to California through a mentor, father figure Curtis McCullum, and came to California. I didn't come here with a dream or anything. It was someone discovered that I had a gift that I didn't know I had.
Hmm.
And long story short, I was allowed to explore more of that musical gift out here under his guidance. And being in California, you got all these great singers, and being a church boy, I didn't know what to do. Do I try to sing like this because I'm here with all the great singers, or do I stay with my calling that I didn't know it was my calling then? Was teaching the unteachables.
Mm.
Um, I was brought up in the home of four siblings, and they're all tone deaf.
Oh, wow.
So, and I didn't know I had this gift that I could hear music that they could not hear, harmonies and melodies, and but I wasn't allowed to explore that at home. My mom didn't understand the gift, so I had to be quiet. I wasn't allowed to sing. Needless to say, something about me wanting to know why can't they sing. My brother Boo. Boo, can you sing this? He's like, oh. So and I started early, like, oh. So that it was so inquisitive to me, like, why can't you sing this? So I would try to
Mhm.
figure out a solution. Whatever the last note he sang, I said, okay, sing that note again. I'll play that, and you'll go somewhere else. I was like, yeah, no, this is not fun. But it became one of my affinities for wanting to be a music teacher. And so when I got out here, I was doing uh, teaching choirs in church,
Mhm.
and it went over to after school programs, enrichment programs like a place called Home, uh, LAUSD, Harmony Project behind the bell, all these inner city kids, the
Mm.
the kids who it's hard for you to get them to listen.
Uh-huh.
And my thing is, I got to get them to listen. But it was a joy of mine, and it just grew into uh, wanting to teach. I remember in the fourth grade, Miss Henderson was my first music teacher. I just thought about this today. I was like, she was actually instrumental in my wanting to be a teacher,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, long story. I'm doing stuff out here after school, and got signed to a production deal with Barry Gordy, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna be a
Wait a minute,
star
hold on,
now.
hold on, hold on, hold on. We gonna get into all of that because I did not know about that. But currently, what you're doing is you're teaching choirs and teaching in after school programs and just
Right.
working with different people, helping them to develop their musical gifts. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay. So before we skip all the way to all of the stuff that happened after you getting here, I really would like for us to start at the beginning. So you mentioned that you grew up in Mississippi and you were in a home full of tone deaf people. So could you tell me a little bit about your childhood and the home life and what was going on as a child for you?
Ooh, you would ask me that, Lord.
I do. Because you know what, Sherdale, what I have found is that often we think that the things that we're going through as children are these terrible things or what have you, but they all pour into us and give us the experience that we need that make us into the people that we need to become. And so, yes, I think it's important because there might be some child that's living in Mississippi right now going through something similar, and hearing your story might encourage him. So, yes, I would love for you to share your story, sir.
Um, yeah, so I was saying earlier, I didn't know I had a musical gift.
Hmm.
Um, my mom's siblings didn't sing. Um, so cousins didn't sing, halfway tone deaf as well. Um, and so being a young kid, just I will imagine just singing all the time
Mm.
was a problem for the household, you know. But my grandmother she discovered I had a little ear or I had a little voice. So that's where I think the initial nurturing of this thing happened. So
Mm-hmm.
grandma would come. She lived in the country, so she would come on the weekends. She'd come to mama's house. I'm taking my grandbaby back to Brickner with me. And Friday we would go dig baits. So
Mm.
these are worms.
Yeah, for the fishing.
Saturday morning we would go fishing.
Okay.
Sunday morning we would go to church. Before church, she would wake me up with all of this gospel music on the AM station, the house filled with singing. She singing. My grandmother was a singer,
Ah, so that's where it came from.
Mama Gussie. And so I would just be like, how is she harmonizing or how is she matching? I couldn't explain, I guess, as a kid, how it just seemed like she's supposed to be part of this group. Wherever the song came on the radio, she's singing it like she know it, like she's. And I think I start to pick up on uh, singing harmony to a song on the radio.
Mm.
And lo and behold, we go to church and she'll have me sit right next to her. Come and I'm gonna sing my favorite song. Because back in the day they had testimony services and
Mm-hmm.
you give way to the mothers and grandma would sing every Sunday. So the Sunday that I would be with her, I would be singing. And I think that probably without me knowing it was nurturing this musical thing. Um, and so when I go home, I couldn't sing, I couldn't do all of that. So I couldn't wait to go to grandma's house or to school around the fourth grade. Is I had
Mm-hmm.
a music teacher, and I somehow was the they call them the teacher's
Teacher's
pet.
pet. Uh-huh.
She would have me sit next to the piano, and she would have me sing because I guess the kids in the class didn't know how to sing that well either, but I became that example. And I think over time, again, not recognizing it was a gift, I knew it was something that made people happy or recognize me, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so, yeah, I started singing in school, um, junior high, choir, district competition in choral singing,
Mm.
um, high school, the different choirs in high school. I was part of the elite group in high school. So I came to California the summer of my 10th grade year.
Oh, okay.
Um, how did I get to California? Church. My siblings, my sisters would go to church with my Aunt Reed, which is
Mm-hmm.
Center Street Church of Christ. And me and my brother would go to the House of Prayer Baptist Church with my grandmother and my uncle. So I was already going to church with grandma, until preteen, teenager, my sister invited me to their church, homecoming.
Okay.
And I didn't know a homecoming was a gospel concert. I thought it was a rivalry football, basketball type thing. But this is what I believe changed my life. Being that I didn't have the opportunity to sing in the house. It was really rough growing up with my mama. Single parent, the second to the oldest, the first male child, so everything's gonna be you. It's your responsibility to have it done. And no playtime, no fun time for you, sir.
Mm.
So it was rough.
So you were
But
kind of the man of the house, huh?
yeah,
Okay.
I had to secretly enjoy music in the back room,
Mm.
you know. Um, but when I went to this homecoming, it was at my junior high school auditorium. And I used to sing in my head a lot. I used to, create music, in my head and That was just something I had to do inwardly. I remember walking up the steps to the junior high school auditorium. Now, this is it's seat what there's seated 1,200 people. This is a church event at my school.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know my sister's church, they only sung what we call it a cappella. They didn't sing with instruments. So I'm walking up the steps and I'm hearing this harmony, this booming as I'm about to walk into the auditorium that I know so well because it's my school. And these people in here
They were singing down,
like it
huh?
was a Baptist church, but the harmony and the voices, it was filled with voices of harmony. Avalon voices. Unity. So I I was like, Lisa, this where y'all go to church? I want to go to your church. You know? It just awakened this musical something.
Hmm.
And I felt like I'm supposed to be part of this.
Hmm.
You know, like
Say, where have you been all my life?
man, all my life. So that was on a Saturday. They had church on Sunday. Of course, all the groups from out of town. It was groups from Dallas, from Tennessee, from these are the who's who big groups that would come to this annual homecoming. And it's my first homecoming, and I'm just shocked. Like, wow. One of the groups that were there was a group from Southwestern Christian College.
Hmm.
Didn't know none about none of this, right? But
Right.
this one group that got up, they had 6 members, and it was called Southwestern Christian College Sextech,
Oh.
six. And I wasn't good in history, wasn't good in remember names, but that day I remembered all of them. And to this day, I still remember their names. One of them name is Robert Guy.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
and we're to this day are like brothers. So
Yes, I love
um,
Rod.
I I went to church that following day, was it that Sunday, and I got baptized. I'm like, this is my church now. This is not knowing anything about church denominations and who's da da da. You know, I'm a
Hmm.
teenager. I'm going where family and singing is.
Right.
Um, so everybody done left out of town. The following Sunday, ain't nobody in church singing. Where the groups? Where? They gone. I'm like, well, we don't have a group. You know, like it's like no. Well, so I said we're gonna start a group.
Mm.
We started a youth group. I was a teenager, and all of the music of the groups that were there, I got cassettes. I got them right here still, because some cassettes now that I would listen to in the back room playing with my. Well, I didn't have headphones. I just had a cassette player, but I had to have real low. But I was recording them in my head
Hmm.
with the group, the youth group. I taught them to them. So it was like, and I balanced the harmony. Like that teaching thing was just automatic.
Yeah.
And so the following year, the homecoming is there again. Well, this year, the church that I was a member of had a founding minister who I didn't know at the time was in California at a big church out here called
Hmm.
Figueroa Church of Christ. But
Okay.
he came home. I didn't know he was from Brookhaven, Mississippi, but he came home that year that I'm over the youth group, the little youth chorus.
I who this then started a group in my church? What?
We on stage and people like, oh, you know, just because at before that year's homecoming, we was invited to come and sing at different churches, youth programs and stuff. So we kind of had like a name for ourselves real fast. So here we
Made
are.
a name over that year. Oh, wow.
And my Aunt Reed, who was a member of the Century Church of Christ, they call her Radio because she knew everybody in the church, including Brother McCullum, Curtis McCullum. So I guess he started inquiring, who's over this group? And my aunt, that's not that you too. He done got the da 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 da. And he wanted to meet my parents, right? Well, he don't know Miss Francis, you know, and I didn't grow up with my dad. So my aunt persuaded my mom, her sister, to let him come over and just listen to him. This is where I know my story or my life was intentional.
Hmm.
Every moment was specific. So this man come from California to Brookhaven, his hometown. He goes to his old home congregation, discover this young fella. Now you want to know who. He comes to our home. We lived on 411 South Washington Street, a two-story apartment, and I could walk to Center Street Church or I can walk to school. So he knocks on the door. I have to go open the door, of course. Mom in the living room, sitting down, chilling and things. Like, okay. So I go open the door. He's tall, and he says, "Hello, son." And I ain't had no man to call me son. That's the
Mm.
first thing. I was like, "Hey," so I walk into the living room, and you don't be in grown folks' business, so you get ready to go in the back room. But before I left, he was like, Miss Francis, Sherdale, uh, do you know, he's asking my mom, do you know this old lady that right across the street that sits in the rocking chair? She has gray hair, that sits in the rocking chair. Mom was like, "Oh yeah, that's Miss So and So," and he's like, "And do you know that old man that be sitting in the rocking chair with the Kango hat on, smoking on a cigar pipe?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's Mr. John." He said, "Those are my parents."
Wow.
Meaning right across the street from where I lived, the blind, his mother was blind, the blind lady sitting on the porch that would hear me hum, that would speak to me, is
Hmm.
this man that came down here, is his mama? And Mr. John is, they live right across the street from me? Now y'all tricking me. So that allowed my mom to allow me to go.
Because she knew his parents.
Yeah, yeah. So I spent the summer of my 10th grade year. And at that time, he was in Paris, California. He had started
Okay.
a church in Paris, California. And he brought me to California to start working with his adult choir as a
You
teenager.
were in 10th grade.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that choir was the first choir I directed at the McDonald Gospel Fest. We won first place.
Mm.
Then Avalon,
Okay.
another group. So they had me something. It had to be something. Turned out like you.
I mean, yeah, you do got a little something, right? Yeah.
And these were just regular people. These were not like stellar singers and stuff. But we competed. We were exposed to great music,
Hmm.
which broadened everyone's experience with music, worship music, just the gift of music. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I got out here. Um, it was like, boop, let me pick you up out of here and boop, put you right there. I'm gonna put you in a family and they're gonna take care of you. Like this is your new home, you know.
Okay, so you said you came the summer of your 10th grade year. Did you stay or did you go back and forth for a little while?
I started my 11th grade year in high school at Paris High School,
So you stayed out here. Okay.
but I got homesick.
Did you?
I didn't know what that was until it happened. Yeah, got
Hmm.
homesick. The whole environment was so different. It was so the plane. Oh, of course, I left from Jackson Airport to I'm coming to California, not knowing how the lay of California is. I'm thinking LA is Broadway, and the whole state of California is LA.
Hmm.
All the airports is at LA. Well, my plane went to a place called Ontario
Oh,
Airport,
yeah.
but I thought that was LA. Okay, cool. And we landed at nighttime, so I couldn't really see anything. I'm just excited I'm in LA. Not in LA, sir. you know, just wake up in the morning, you'll find out.
A couple hours away, but yeah.
You'll find out. And I remember waking up that next morning because I'm excited. I'm in California, little country bumpkin. And I woke up before them, and I decided I just want to go outside.
Mhm.
You knew that country just came out of me real fast. See, man, I started talking
Be
about
you, be you. It's all good.
and I walk outside there in like this cul-de-sac, and to my surprise, to the left of me was a field of sheep. Sheep.
Paris. Mm-hmm.
Sheep in California.
Yep.
I never heard that before. Right. So
Most people in California don't realize that. That's
I
funny.
was like, we're not in California. We're not in Kansas, okay? We're not in California. So I go back into the house a little unsure because I'm with a family I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm supposed to be in LA. LA don't have sheep, you know? That's my little naive country self, you know? So I went back in there and I knocked on the door and I was like, hey, son, I said, can someone tell me like where we are? Like, he's all, just give me a minute. So he came out. It's like, yeah, you're in the city called Paris, and it's like 70 miles from Los Angeles. We'll get to Los Angeles, right? Oh, okay. So I tried to adapt to this desert of Paris where the air is dry and it gets cold, 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 or get hot, hot, hot. My skin was not adjusting to the climate. My eyes will always burn every day. So when I started going to school, I was just miserable before I even got to school. And the teaching system was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
At home, I had hands-on, I wasn't the brightest kid in the classroom. So I needed a little extra time, you know, and they gave, those teachers back at home, they made sure you had what you need, whatever level you were. But Paris was like, if you pay attention, you'll pass. No, I don't understand. I took a Spanish class.
Mm-hmm.
All of them were speaking Spanish already. It was
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic people. What I didn't know, ethnic things that was going on differently out here, but they already knew Spanish.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm failing. I'm not getting it from algebra. It was just rough.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I want to go home. I want to go home. Okay. They said, all right, well, you go ahead and go home, and when you graduate, we're gonna send back for you. I struggled from the second half of my 11th grade year,
Mm-hmm.
and I struggled the first part of my senior year, but I graduated. I graduated, and that was a big thing for a boy back in the South, you know, that had not great examples of education environments,
Yeah.
Um, but the day after I graduated, I was brought back out here.
The day after? Oh, wow.
They sent for me, and yeah, and that time is where I there was a person that wanted me to marry them, but I didn't know that when I came back.
Wait a minute. Was you betrothed or something? What happened?
Huh?
I said, how that work?
Huh?
Was that arranged marriage? What?
I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, it was like, since this prodigy of a sort that been in our church, and everybody was whatever, like, oh, Sherdale, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
knowing.
Mm-hmm.
So they making sure I come back, you know. We don't, you know,
They was waiting on you,
car
huh?
stuff. And so she wanted me to meet her daughter, the lady who sent for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but that's after I moved in with him. Yeah, so I thought it was another family situation thing.
Right. Nah, not exactly, huh?
Not exactly. So I end up, you know, bringing a little child into the world, 19, 20 years old, as a father for the first time in California, real fast.
Wow.
So I was like, um, you know?
Wow.
I'm here in California. I go to church now. I'm a father. So I had to grow.
Yeah, that'll make you grow
I,
up really quickly.
yeah. Especially I have it. And then to be asked to marry them. Like, and marriage was nowhere in my history, in my family, so except my
Mhm.
father on my father's side. But
Okay.
19, will you marry me? I thought I was supposed to say that to you. But I I was always in this um I was shy. I was like I was not the aggressing type person,
Hmm.
and California was fast. And the
Yeah.
California girls was fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So um but yeah, that started my journey on adulthood, young adulthood, parenthood. And that's where the gravel met the road as far as how are you going to survive in on your own now.
Hmm.
Plus,
A dependent.
you
Yeah.
have a dependent, and
Hmm.
another one that you decided you want to be the father for that one too.
Mm.
Because you like, I want to be what I never had,
Okay.
and so I accepted it, and it took a while, but being under the home of McCullum and being a hardworking uh, preacher slash business slash music teacher. Like I got a glimpse of that role, living with him. And the rest I just had to learn the best way I know how.
Right.
And let them tell
Trial and
you
error.
I'm the best dad ever. The best cook, the best guy to have fun. Like I became that dad. I became that dad. Thank God. I just because still to this day I have this childlike heart would sometimes just automatically connect with these kids that I drive. I'm a care driver in the mornings where I go pick up kids from home and take them to school, pick them up from school, take them home. Kind of like a Uber, but it's a special thing for kids. You got to get certified and you got to have more patience than the average person. So
Hmm. Hmm.
most of these kids are coming from a broken home, the foster system, uh, so you're it just fit my personality just fit,
Hmm.
you know. Now if I don't pick them up and they see me alone, why you come and pick me up? It's like this
Oh,
unspoken
they be looking for you, huh?
they're looking for me.
Yes.
So I just know there was something special about don't change your deal. I'm like, man, why you make me care too much? Lord, why you make me have this? He made me to have this kind of heart, and uh, I think it's a precious thing that I didn't appreciate until my older years. Like
Hmm.
you have a gift to speak to those who some people just can't get to them.
Right. It takes a special person sometimes to reach certain people. Yeah. Yeah.
And the same thing with singing. I think that kind of rubbed off into me being able to teach certain singers who
Hmm.
people say you stop singing or you can't sing or if they did have a desire to sing it was crushed real fast, but I was
Mm.
like yes you can, if you could talk you could sing. I would always say that before I know it became like a thing. I would say like, can you talk, can you hear yourself, you can sing. It might not be like the greatest, but listen, you can sing. And when
Hmm.
you put people in that building environment and then they begin to hear and begin to see, it's
Once they
life changing.
realize. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the kind of guy I believe that God made. Not because I'm gifted in singing as a singer, I could sing, but that wasn't my first love. My first love was getting people to sing, so I could
Hmm.
sing with them.
Hmm. You just wanted somebody to sing with because you didn't have nobody to sing with at home. Ain't that something?
Because some
Wow.
some families were having cousins and it was a whole family of singers.
Right, the mother, the father, the kids, and everybody come through, and this
Everybody,
is yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
and they holding it down. You know,
yeah.
say for instance, like the Walls group. If I had a Walls group situation when I was growing up,
I remember the Thomases would come in and throw it down right real quick. Yes, I remember. Yes.
so I've had a different path musically, and I I've embraced it because it's just something unique I've noticed about being able to, for one, share music in such a way where it it changes your mood, it changes how you feel about yourself, it just helps you shift weight or like I can't explain it. It's just it's a wonderful thing to have in your life. Music, the ability to express or create in the
hmm
art of music. And over time, this it's 5 decades now. I was 50 now.
Amen to that, because everybody
5 decades.
there. Woo. Okay, so you've talked about the group that you started in Paris, and you talked about the group that you started back in Mississippi, and we kind of mentioned the group that I was a part of. How many groups have you led? Do you know? Have you ever counted?
Well, so there's um, the church service of groups and choirs, and then there's uh, the non-church groups and choirs.
Oh, let's talk about some of them. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so most of my church life has been once I discovered the a cappella world
Mhm.
of gospel singing or just everything in singing. A cappella is just such a rich thing, you know, it really penetrates to the heart of the listener, you know, when it's done really well. Um, but let's see. When I moved to LA, because I was in Paris,
Mhm, mhm.
and someone from LA at that time had saw me in Paris. They've heard of this country boy. Now everybody's trying to show up at some kind of something to see him.
Mhm.
And one guy came to me. He's like, "Hey man, I was 19. I'm in this group. You know, we signed. Um, so at that time, of course, you know Barry Gordy. He was over Motown. And so there was a studio or Motown on Argyle and Sunset
Okay.
in Hollywood.
Mhm.
And uh, wow, this is okay, cool. Um, so Michael Lovesmith was in partners with um, Barry, and he started, I guess, once Motown had been sold, he and Michael Lovesmith created this production of Joe Bet Music.
Okay.
And the friend who's like, "Hey man, I'm part of this group. You know, we're you know how people like we about to do some things. You
You
know,
about to blow up, right?
the oldest guy was 35. Here I am, 19, and we about to blow it. In my mind, even when I'm like, isn't he too old to be part of a group? You know, like that's that young me, the perception of the age. You know, like
Right.
I can't be a star if he's 35 and I'm 19 unless it's the Jackson 5. Like, what is this? And it had that kind of, you know, brotherly, what we would call brotherly.
Okay.
So it had that Jackson 5, Jackie Wilson, you know, that feel.
They were kind of trying to stick to the Motown sound, but bring it into the updated version.
Yeah, and so if I was 19, this is 94, 95, something like that.
Okay.
Uh, And so here's my first time in a recording studio, you know, headphones on through the glass. Like, yeah, I'm seeing movies, you know, like 5 heartbeats, like, okay, this is okay. But it wasn't this still wasn't my dream, or this wasn't
Mm,
something that I was really head over heels. I'm always the guy that to make the harmonies right. So my job was to make sure it's funny. Now that I think about it, I'm the youngest one in there, but I had to make sure these guys were singing harmony right. Yeah,
mm,
somebody off, or I would hear it,
yeah.
and they would not pay me any attention most times because just sing your part, But long story short, that was a year contract, but they told me I had to move to LA because they didn't want to keep fighting traffic back and forth, come to get me the pairs to come to the studio, take me home, come and so I was moved to LA. And um my and of course I'm still part of the church. So when I moved to LA, I'm trying to find, here's my was my home.
Right.
When you get out of home and you're planted in a bigger city like LA, now
Now you in LA, LA.
this is
Yeah.
LA.
You in
Ooh,
Hollywood, probably, huh? Yeah. Hmm.
I was on Figueroa, 132nd and Figueroa was my
Oh,
first.
that's not quite Hollywood, but okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And so I had my first roommate. Um, his name was Kelvin Krigler, and um, I stayed there for about 3 years. And then from there, because I got a baby, I got to find a job because this church thing. Well, it wasn't such a thing with me getting paid back then. It was just this is But
Hmm.
now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna feed myself. I got a room. I gotta pay rent now. I gotta half of it. So just trying to grow and not get overwhelmed because I'm in a big city. And now you're a young adult that need to support yourself. And
Hmm.
well, one of the guys from the group I was with, they created a position in the mortgage financing field. So I got a contract job as a loan processor. So corporate America, tie, suit, blue collar, and yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah,
But
that's not fun.
not with a creative guy that,
Exactly. It's not
you
fun.
know,
I mean, it's something that people enjoy doing, don't get me wrong, but it's not
yeah,
necessarily
it paid my
something that's
bills and
fun. Right.
it made me spoiling the kids fun,
Hmm.
but this is around the dog they call it the subprime where I think Countrywide and all these different loan companies that was giving second home loans or something. It was like crazy interest rate stuff, some trickery or something. And the
Hmm.
market crashed. Yeah, I
Right
guess
before the crash.
yeah,
Before the crash.
2000 and
The 2008 was that first big
yeah,
one.
yeah, that's what.
Hmm.
Um, and I was part of that crash. And I thought I had the answer to life because I had a consistent job. I could take care of my responsibility. I could go get my kids. I could, when that happened, this is another moment. Wow. When that happened, I was faced with fear
Mm.
because the person who got me the job was a friend of the church for one, but uh they wasn't doing their job.
Mm.
And when I would my responsibility from loan processor, then I became underwriter support.
Okay.
So I was a support to under the senior underwriter, which was this person. Well, the rates had changed a lot, couple of times in the week, whatever, and somehow they did not give me the most updated rate sheets and things. So when the underwriter will underwrite and they send the file and put it in my queue, and I go back and I'm like, nope, that's not right. Oh, nope, that's not right. Put it in the basket, go sit it over in the office for to get the signing. Well, he signed off, he signed off, he signed off. And yeah, boom.
Wow.
um, and at that time, I got that job through a temp agency.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew how the temp agency thing worked at that time. You don't work for the company, you work for the temp agency.
Right.
And I had lost a couple of jobs because I got so connected to the jobs I was working with, but the agency, I wasn't reporting to the agency. So
Mm.
this time with this job, I made sure that I kept everything with the agency, even though this was a first personal friend of mine that I'm working with. Well, this email or this memo went around the company saying they lost millions of dollars, some something rates were approved and da 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 da. So all the figures pointed to me.
Oh no.
And I had never experienced stress before or
Mm.
fear or worry like that.
Mm-hmm.
But after that memo and the boss or friend, everything, and it was, I guess, each month in, there's always this urgency to close and escrow and all that, well, I was not a liked person after that. And
Mm.
I was kind of treated as such, which I'm like, y'all didn't give me the rate sheet. Like, this is not my fault. Who I did not know.
Right. I was you doing what I did based on the information that I had. Right. Yeah.
So I remember it after that memo, I would feel this heaviness the day I gotta go to work. So I just feel this heaviness, like, but I would go to work. So about that third day, I had never felt such heaviness waking up,
Mm.
getting ready to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so much so that I've never felt like me feel like something must be wrong with me. you know?
Yeah.
So before I went to work that day, I called the boss and said I wasn't feeling well, but I'm gonna come to work anyway. It's like a month in, so I know they wouldn't need me to come. So that day I got there, I just I couldn't shake whatever that was. I didn't know my mental was, I guess, sinking in and inward.
Mm.
Maybe I'm trying to hide. I had fight or flight. I flight.
Sounds
So
like a little bit of depression or something was setting in, huh?
yeah, 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 yeah. And so
Wow.
I I got to work and I'm trying to get into the flow and it just was not working. So I called my boss. He was not there. I left him a message. Then I called the agency and I was like, I'm not doing well. I'm not feeling well. I'm not sure what's going on with me. I've been feeling this way for a couple of days. I said, okay, we'll just go ahead and take it off. And we'll let your boss know, just call us and let us know how you da da da. Right? So I was okay, cool. I'm gonna get my belongings. I'm just gonna go home. Well, it's around right before around 11:30. My boss comes as I'm gathering my things,
Mm-hmm.
and they was like, "Where you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going home." I was like, "No, you're not." I said, "I've already called the temp agency and told them I wasn't feeling well. I've called, left you a message. I called you early morning, told you so. I just gotta go." And then they said, which it was like that was a straw. Boop. Well, maybe you should call your temp agency and tell them that your assignment is complete.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
And all I could hear was, "You're a failure."
Mm. So you internalize it a little bit. Mm.
Because all I could think about, this is how I'm supporting my kids. This is how
Yeah.
I'm staying connected with my kids.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, it was a whole lot. Like, I don't want to be like my dad. I want to be, I was spiraling into this hopelessness because this is my first time experiencing something this big, this loss, and I don't have a backup. I don't
Yeah.
have I don't have a big mama house. And
Yeah.
I ain't got a friend house.
There ain't nobody here but me. This is, yeah, yeah.
So this is when the Lord said, now I'm going to introduce myself to you.
Mm. We're gonna step in, creator God.
I've been doing church and all of that. And this thing happened. And I'm like looking up. Maybe the subconscious like, Jesus, or like, so it caused me to ponder who, if if you are God, in those moments, like
And
you,
now is the time, right? Yeah.
yeah, like
Hmm.
that's why I want to know, do you know my name?
Mm.
You know, like
Hmm.
um I started to inquire about God, but I would start to just saying, if you are God, or I need help, or just maybe in my own way, my soul probably trying to communicate,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and this is how I was going to Vaughn Street Church of Christ at that time. So I lived in LA, but one of the old sisters from Paris, like, baby, you should go to Vaughn Street. And so that's why I kind of started going to church to have some kind of community or family or something again.
Hmm.
But that community, it was not like Paris and it was not like home. But I didn't know that until life started to happen and I need Jesus.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking I'm coming to church to get Jesus.
Sometimes he don't be there.
He
Unfortunately.
wasn't there. He wasn't there. I didn't know he wasn't there until I knew I needed to find him. Did I realize? Yeah. So this is it was, I'm telling you, like it's almost like God knew the timing. He knew the moments where he was going to show up or give me a glimpse of his sovereignty in my life in particular.
Right.
From the guy from from LA coming home and his parents and my parents, that kind of a fine tooth tone cone type of situation.
Hmm.
Well, all I know is singing, and my soul would just sing. I remember getting home and, well, so when I was leaving the building, I called my friend to come get me, and all I remember is I don't know how I got down from 54 floors after like the closure of I'm not coming back here anymore and da 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 da. I must have been walking like a zombie, and so I get to the car and I guess this showed how severe I was sulking. And my friend was like, man, what I sit in the passenger seat, but lifeless, but not knowing I'm lifeless. And I was like, bro, what's going on? What? I couldn't muster up the strength to get a word out.
Mm.
And they're concerned, but this noise that's going into my ear, it was irritating me. Like, I didn't say nothing. I couldn't say nothing, but somehow it's real life. So somehow they must have said something, and the strength that I had to muster up to get something out, I didn't use some church words. What came out of my mouth,
It happens.
and when I said, "Leave me the plague alone," I passed out in the car. That's how deep that was for me.
Wow.
So I was really desiring help from God if he could. So it just opened up my awareness, my spiritual awareness.
Hmm.
So much so that I'm searching for him. Every song that I'm hearing that I would normally would play gospel songs, Kirk Franklin, the Winans Commission, they're live. The songs are live now. they're really speaking to me.
I
Like,
need something now. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Uh-huh.
So Friday comes, Saturday comes. It's like this, the newness of life was happening
Mm.
because God was getting my heart to be attentive to him. It was almost like this invisible life in the spirit place, in the heart, in the soul, searching, if that makes sense. And here I've been going to this church, this new church at Bond Street for like maybe 5 months until this Sunday. So Friday, Saturday, I had a 5 disc CD player
Okay.
and they had all gospel stuff in there, right? So Saturday night is I begin to dream that I'm at a concert, a Kirk Franklin concert. And you know how in real life you sleep, but you're about to come out of sleep, and sometimes you start dreaming before you wake up,
Mm-hmm.
and it may pick up some of the sounds that's not in the natural room.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know Kirk Franklin was playing, and I'm dreaming in this concert. The song was "It's Over Now, It's Over. I feel like I can make it.
The storm is over
The
now.
storm is over now."
Eh.
And you know the part where it's like, "Whoa, Jesus!" Like in the recording, I woke up worshiping God. This is around like 3:40 something a.m. Crying, waking up out of my dreamy sleep, worshiping God. That has never happened before. So I want everybody to be saved.
You need to feel what I just felt. Right.
Oh, I called my Aunt Ree, the one who did it, my nephew to do. I called my Aunt Ree. I'm in California. And I lived in Culver City at that time.
Okay.
And I'll never forget it. Oh my God. I called my because she was the closest to me next to
Mm-hmm.
grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a great relationship with my mom. And my Aunt Ree knew how my mom was with me. And they always were bumping heads and always into it. So I called my Aunt Ree. Ree, hello. I'm crying, right? Hey, Ree. She's like, "Dude, is this you?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. I want y'all to go to heaven. I need you and my mom to stop us." Oh, I'll never forget it. Like, I want my family saved, right? And she said, "Dude." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Are you drunk?" I said, "No, ma'am."
Drunk in the
What?
spirit.
What? I don't drink, but grandma. But it was that heavy on me. It was
Mm-hmm.
that trying to find this mystery of I've been going to church all my life. I just knew of God. I did not know him for myself.
There's a lot of
I
people
did not, yeah,
Mhm.
I did not know him as all the cliche stuff that you would hear in church. So I felt, I felt bad that I didn't know him all this time.
You don't know what you don't know, though. And that's why the Bible says you only going to be judged according to your level of knowledge.
Where's
God wouldn't
that?
judge
Where's
you
that?
for
Because
something
I've
that you
been wanting
didn't
to
know.
find that. Where is that? You gotta find that for me because I need to find that too. That'll help me a lot.
Okay.
Um, but I begin the journey of searching for Jesus to save me. If this is the Jesus that saves, you know my name. You know what you see what I'm a father. I gotta work. It just all this different stuff. I guess he's supposed to already know. Of course he does.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I want to know you then. I so everything music wise was about God for real, for real. So that Sunday, I'm going to the church I normally go to, but I have entered to his court with thanksgiving, into his you know, with praise. That slogan was in my head. Like, you're coming to worship God. For the first time on a Sunday, I'm thinking about God in the room, Jesus, the Holy Spirit in this. He's supposed to already be in there. But this is the Church of Christ, though. And a couple Sundays I've been there, and it's just been a form, but no expressions of him. No,
Right.
no. But I didn't recognize this is what it was until I realized this is what we've been doing.
Mhm.
And it was just like, but I sat in the back that Sunday, but my voice was like free. I'm like, here we got the burgundy books, we singing. But all these words
Giggity
I've sung
books. I remember
before,
those.
these hymns came to life again. These words, I'm like, man, like this is the power of the ministry of music. Like when your heart is ready, your ears is ready, you will get fed by these songs. I don't care who's singing them, but if life is happening and God is using these songs to speak to your heart, it will speak to your heart.
Hmm.
Well, my background is Baptist, right? And we feel free in how grandma brought me up. You got to throw your hands up and your head
Right.
back and holler.
Right.
Well, you know, I didn't know that I can't do that at this church. It reminded me of the song Cheryl Season, Shouting John.
Hmm.
So one of the elders came back. I was sitting in the back, and one of the elders came in the back. He said, Brother Sherdale, you think you can sing the song before the communion or either invitation or? And I said, yes, yes. You like, yes. I'm excited about it. Well, and this day is funny. I can't make this up. This day in particular was a Father's Day Sunday.
Okay.
Right next door to Bond Street was Calvary Baptist Church. So Calvary Baptist Church was always rocking. Well,
Okay.
they had an overflow, so some of their guests came into Vaughn Street Church. So we got a mixture of people. I'm not knowing that at that time. So when I get up there to sing, not from the book, it was coming from the heart, right? At this
Uh-huh.
time, I sung, Our God is an awesome God, He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. The second time I got through with that thing, both of my hands up. Our
Uh-huh.
God is an awesome God. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I'm not aware of what's going on in the room, but I can see silhouettes of hands coming up. Now, back then, you wouldn't clap or you wouldn't have any raised hands, but it's just me and God.
You
This
were
is my
worshiping. How
worship.
about that? Right. Yeah.
This is my worship. Well,
Yeah.
tears down my face to my grandmother. Every testimony service, she's singing a song and tears. She was a weeping worshiper. She would just, you know, that showed up in me
Uh-huh.
at that time.
Uh-huh.
And as I'm singing, our God's an awesome God. Maybe the third time, oh, someone came up behind me and put their hands on my shoulder and whispered in my ear that I was being emotionally unstable,
Oh, wow.
and they don't have that here. As the song is still going on,
The church is actually singing along and everything. Oh, wow.
set me down on the front row.
So how did the song end?
I don't know. It probably ended the regular way. I don't know. Because I was so in the spirit where I heard him, but I didn't hear him.
Right.
I didn't realize he was sitting me down.
Ain't that something?
So when the song was over, when it was, and I'm back into my, what just happened? Did they just, after that, my something in my soul was like, this is not the church of Christ.
Hmm.
And I left because I'm in search for God. I'm in search for the Holy Spirit to lead and guide and teach me for myself. I'm searching for, I'm knocking, I'm asking. Crickets. Or they
Hmm.
don't walk the other way. He doing too much or whatever. However, they didn't painted me to be at that time. I was a
Hmm.
sacrificial lamb because when I left, they found someone that tried to be exuberant, but it wasn't coming from a place. It
I get
wasn't
that.
coming from a place. So, but that it seemed like that's I was being the example. And when I would leave, they noticed my presence or the spirit of love and like energy with God just moving. They couldn't control that. It's a free God. God speaks to our heart,
Right.
and we're supposed to show a sign and acknowledge Him.
Right.
Not just we're singing songs and it's not speaking to us. We don't. We just
That's
become
how the power
so.
of God moves through us,
Yeah.
allowing his spirit to move.
Yes. Yes. And yes. But I had to learn that. I had to learn a lot of things. Um, but it taught me that God, I was made in the Lord's image.
Hmm.
Although I was serving in different churches, it was the idea of the leader of the church is their vision, but and then they knew the Bible and stuff, but I just wouldn't connect with most preachers because there was a disconnect.
Because the bottom line is yes, you are the minister, but we are serving God, not you.
Yeah. And I didn't want to be like, because I'm still discovering who God is in this season for me now, but coming back into the church, if you will, and wanting to continue to be a light um, through the ministry of music. You know, times have changed, but some of the same things we're still dealing with as far as not allowing the Holy Spirit to be present because they don't know
Hmm.
it or they don't recognize it or they think it's just an emotion or it's just so there's still a disconnect, but you know, there's generations that's been gone now. And if we're the church and we have not been doing a good job as a church of Christ, well, you look up in 10 years, you're not gonna we ain't gonna have no singing church, we ain't gonna have no spirit-filled church. You know, COVID exposed a lot of stuff, you know. Um, but this is part of my story. Like I I was brought here. Now I feel like I'm called to stay here because now I'm dreaming for myself.
Yeah.
And it's been a while to try to beat back the subconscious, you're not worth it, or you don't supposed to be singing this, or all the stuff that's kind of just kept me just okay. You know, I can do all these great things, but I just kind of go back to I'm just a regular
I was
guy.
about to say, as I listen to your story, it's obvious that God has equipped you to do exactly what you're doing because you do it with such ease and you are effective at doing it. So the proof is in the pudding. They said, you shall know a tree by its fruit, and you have borne all kinds of fruits. Sis.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
some choose not to recognize that in the circle of this faith on the West Coast. I've I've never felt family as a whole on the West Coast with church affiliation. Like most of my church affiliation has been in the valley, not in the city. Now that
Hmm.
I'm in the
Hmm.
city, oh, I've been living in the city, but I would go out into the valley for church. But now that I'm in the city and I have a church home now in the city,
Hmm.
yeah, it's it's a challenge, but there's nothing too big for God because I've known him to do miraculous things through me, just having the compassion for the people, you
Amen.
know, uh,
Mhm.
and just being me. If I could be my quirky, goofy facial expressions that I got from my fourth grade teacher, Miss Henderson, if I could be 100% myself, you'll get past my facial expressions or my hearing something you can't hear. I'm like, now you off. But I
Mhm.
won't say it in a disrespectful way. It's always a way where I want you to recognize it. And then you'll start to begin to figure out how to match it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it happens. It happens over time because now they know what to hear.
Mhm.
Like, oh well, someone was like, I know that it wasn't right, but you know,
I don't know what the right one is, but
yeah,
right.
that's right. So you bring an awareness to people about their self, about
Mhm.
their beliefs, how they how they perceive themselves when it comes to singing or believing that they could do something that they, you know, probably
Mhm.
think they can't do. Like you just need the right teacher. You just need the right coach. You just need the
But
right
that's what
person.
you
You need to be in
are.
the right
You are the
environment.
source. Yeah.
You know, you could shoot if if God could have a rock to speak and shout, and we've been made in His image, how much more power do we have to speak? You know, so we are His creation, and that the power of life and or death is in our words, in our speech, is in that energy. Let there be. That was the first. It was word that created. So we have the power to create through our words, and I choose to create uh, an environment where people don't feel left out, regardless of
Mm.
where their skills or what environment they come from or what background they've come from. Hard knocks or sit on the pedestal. No, we are as great as our weakest link, so we need to come down a little bit. We all can get on the same because we all in this together. Then it makes a greater impact when we are all sounding and like one. We're
In
connected
unity.
in the same breath. We're
In
breathing
unity.
together. We're
Yes.
singing together. That connects the heart, the spirit, the soul. So, and I love it. I do.
Oh my goodness. I just think that it's amazing to hear your story because, like I said, I've known you forever, but I haven't actually heard your story. And, when you talk about the things that you went through and how you actually had to come to a place where you developed your personal relationship with Christ, I had that same thing happen, and unfortunately, it was the people that sometimes push you to that place where you realize, oh, I can't depend on the people. I must turn to God because following the people, sometimes it leads you into a ditch. But they say the blind follow the blind, and they both fall into the ditch, right?
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, it's a hard lesson for some of us to learn, but we learn it when we need to. And God is always faithful. He's gonna make sure that He's there for us when we need Him, when we actually are ready to He listen to Him, right?
He has one thing that it's just so funny to me, but not, is like to know that every day of my life in these 5 decades, even when I just thought it was just me, he was there.
Mm,
From the most scariest moment where I'm about to lose my life, feel like am I gonna die? I'm out here by myself. Nobody checking on me, Lord. I'm here. If I would have just had that going through those valleys of the shadows of death, then probably I would be where I'm right where I'm supposed to be in every situation. I had God knew where I needed to be in every moment, so I don't want to take that away. But man, he's I know him for myself. I know God. I know his agape as a father for myself. You know what I'm saying? And I could be that agape to my kids. Cause
mhm.
we as kids, we ain't gonna always get it right. we're gonna splur out and try to do our own thing. So God was teaching me,
Yeah.
like, I've been everything for you. You, you I am the I am. If you look, so I was your father when you was fatherless. I was your mother. I was your brother. I was your friend. So you can become those same things to someone else, and maybe they will recognize the God in it and be, brought back to Him.
What they
I've
say, when we shine our lights so that others can see, like you said, Jesus was our example and he told us what I'm doing. Now y'all go do that too for somebody else. And like you said, so that's who you're being so that other people can see, oh, I can do that too. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
that's what it's all about. The generation that we have seen coming up, and it seemed like there's no hope for them because Jesus or God, has been absent in their environment. I I'm a little light. So if I'm encountered with him, I ain't gotta speak Jesus, I gotta speak love,
Right.
and when the Bible says love covers a multitude of sin, man, I'm telling you, if you're showing, I've seen several instances where a murderer or someone in the darkness of whatever have come across an old lady who has God in love. And what she done spoken in love or something that done changed their whole instant.
Mm-hmm.
Let me share this story. Because I got the Lord on my side, right? This one time. So Psalms 23 has been the storybook. My grandmother brought me up like, son, you gonna remember this. A couple times it was my Easter speech. I lived parts of it. Here I live in the hood. I live in the inner city type, right? And I was riding my bike to the gym. Nighttime, I was a cyclist, trying to stay on the new regiment, the new, not the little country fat guy no more. Just kind of be a little fit now. But not knowing, you in LA and you're a young black boy. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people just like to bother you because that's what you are. You in the hood and either you bang in up. So I'm riding my bike and down, I could see down the little hill, 2 blocks where you can see the street lights. It was seven, you can't see their face, but it's because you see 7 bodies come from the
Mm-hmm.
corner. Now they're walking on the sidewalk
Mm-hmm.
as I'm on the sidewalk about to go through them.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell that these some young brothers who probably looking for some problems and things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't look for problems. I go the other way. Well, you about to go into a situation. I had I had a digital recorder in the headphones, so I'm listening to my music, and that was my device. I'm always singing songs. I've lost so much music in digital recorders, and I should have had like 5 albums by now, but that's another page. I'm about to pass them. They kind of like, and I can see their face now. They the neighborhood boys, 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And as they moved out the way, as I'm coming, trying to slow down so I won't hit nobody, because they apparently ain't trying to move out the way.
Right.
And one of them was like, "Where you from? Where you from?" And there is just something in me. I don't get in confrontations often, but I can imagine I said I don't bang or something like that in a way like leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, well, as I'm passing through, like I turn around, like, I'll bang whatever. However I said, I'm not the one that I saw that was extra, the little slim one. As I'm leaving, I turn around and I glimpse this one ran and karate chopped me off my bike.
Oh,
Straight. Boom. My recorder fell in the middle of the street. This is century before Normandy, when it just dips and it go up to Normandy. And now they're surrounding me.
Mm-hmm.
Three over here and four, and my back is against the street. This is the sidewalk. They're on the sidewalk now at my bike, and I'm terrified, but I'm mute because I guess in my subconscious is like I'm about to get beat up.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's just like, okay, what's about to happen? Oh my goodness.
This is the power of the Holy Ghost. That's all I know. I've gotten to know the Lord a little bit, right? And I heard somewhere that He'll fight my battles, right? That was in
Mm.
my head.
Mm-hmm.
So as this other dude was about to charge at me, it's like a movie. He rushed towards me, and it must have been all the angels, grandma, uh, Moses, David, Peter, Paul. They came up out of Sherdale. Because all I said, the blood of Jesus. And the sound of my voice must have bounced off the buildings where it sounded like it was a megaphone.
Mm.
These jokers like, hey bro, we love Jesus. We know the Lord. We go to church. Picked up my bike and gave me my bike, picked my recorder up, and started walking across the street with me to the other side of the street. And I was like, man, y'all gotta stop. It was like, it, I'm telling you, the Holy, it was like, I couldn't believe when I got home, I was like, wow. Like they didn't touch me. Like whatever that came, the sound that came out of me shouting out the blood of Jesus spoke to whatever it broke it.
It broke it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I knew after that, yes, Lord, I know you're real. I know you for myself. Nobody can tell me that your power don't show up and you don't fight battles for real. I didn't get plummeted on the ground. Listen,
There was 7 of them ready.
it was 7 of them. And it's always the little one, the little short one that think that they're the tough one. They got a show. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. Oh, when I got my recorder, it was record. It fell on record.
It recorded you saying it?
It recorded the whole thing, the whole scene.
Oh
When
wow.
he kicked me off the bike, it fell on record, and it was recording all the way until they picked up my bike, and I picked up my recorder, and I didn't realize until I got home. I done lost the recording, but
But you played it, I'm sure, huh?
I didn't get a chance to play it.
Oh, you didn't play it. Mm.
Well, when I got it, I knew it was like long, but I didn't think to play it.
Yeah, yeah.
If I went through it, I probably didn't think anything about it. But
Mm-hmm.
looking back and remembering, that was a moment without a doubt. I knew the power of the words. Life is in our tongue. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have that same power.
Mm-hmm. Jesus told us that. Anyone who claims to be a follower of Christ, he told us that.
I didn't. It wasn't pre-rehearsed. It wasn't. It like I don't know if that would happen ever happen like that again. I can't. It's like you gonna try that one again? Maybe not work. No, I don't know. But all I do know is God is real. His power, His Spirit is alive and well. He's the living Word. So if I speak His living Word, if I speak and proclaim Him, there is power in there. It's gonna. We might not see it, but you'll feel it.
Well, we only have a limited part of the spectrum that we can see and hear anyway. There's so much more that we don't perceive. And so,
I
yeah,
I
yeah,
am a witness, and I know that whatever comes in these next decades, He's with me.
always.
So
Always.
I thank you for allowing me to go back and recall and remember how
Yes.
good God has been over
Yes.
my life. This apartment, I've been here for almost 30 years. This is the apartment that, as when I was at Avalon, the church, it was bare, and they came and they blessed my home. I've
Mm.
been living in here ever since the Avalon family blessed my home.
Wow.
Never
That's
had to worry about getting evicted or not being like God is. This has been my serenity. This has been the place where I would have someone along the way they needed a place to stay. I raised my kids here when I had to bring them and be full-time
mhm.
dad. So he's been a good father to me, and I've been just trying to do my best to reciprocate that to another fatherless child, or through my driving service, or through someone who needs that extra um, um, words of encouragement or extra pushes that you can, you
Yeah.
will, you know. Yeah, so
That's
this is
beautiful.
a light of mine.
As I'm listening to you, they say the spiritual gifts that people are given, you are an exhorter. That's who you are. You are an encourager. And so keep being that, keep doing it. Um, Thank you. I'm just so appreciative of you taking the time to share your story. But before we go, I have one last part that I always like to do. So, I'm an educator as well, right? And something that my students always ask, because my specialty is not music, it's mathematics. They always ask, when am I going to use math in real life? And so, as a music teacher, as a person who teaches choirs and different things, when do you use math?
I use math all the time in music.
Please
Music
elaborate. Yes.
is the combination of rhythm and sound. And so music in the universal spectrum is the same in every language. Any composer, any musician that reads music, you have to add, you have to count. One, two, three, four. That's a measure. One, two, three, four. That's another measure. You put these two measures together, you got 8 beats. There's two measures. That's how you use math in the simplest form. Like count them up.
Outs
Like,
and rhythms.
yeah, if it's like, say, for instance, we have 4/4 time. These
Mm-hmm.
are time signatures in music. You have a 4/4. It looks like a fraction. Four
Mm-hmm.
over four is one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 3/4. So the top number tells you how many beats, gets the how many beats are in the measure, and the bottom tells you the name of the note, which four is a fourth. So it's a quarter note.
Ah.
Quarter, quarter, quarter makes $1. So quarter is a half note. Quarter is another half note. So you have two half notes that makes uh four counts in a measure. So 1, 2, 1, 2. That's a half note is 2 beats. So each note has to fit in a measure. So it's at 4/4, and 4 beats have to fit in that measure. Wah, da, 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 right? So
Mm-hmm.
if it's 3/4, then it's 3 beats in that measure. Da, 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 right? So you have to count. You have to count. Otherwise, if you miss a beat,
Mix up the whole song.
yeah, yeah, you're gonna have to add that beat somewhere, because it has to be an even number. 4, 8, 16, 432, like, the multiplications, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you use math. That's how I use it.
And you see, I tell y'all kids, you're gonna have to use math, even if you think you're gonna be a rapper or a singer. You gotta be able to count the beats. See?
Yeah, you gotta count the bars.
Uh-huh.
Like da 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 da. It's a whole lot of beats going on in that measure, so you gotta count it. There's 16 notes there. Like you have, so a whole note is one note. That one note is like $1. So you treat a $1, okay, what's half of a dollar? A 50-cent piece or 2 quarters and 2 quarters, right? Same thing in music. You have a whole note. What's a half of a whole note? You have a half note. So it makes, you got to have two half notes to fit that whole, right? So if you have a half, that's a quarter and a quarter. So
And
there are
you
four
have the eighth
quarters.
note and the 16 notes and the
You
13.
have to, you have that quarter. You have to, yeah, you know.
Mhm.
That's why math and music was my friend. It made sense to me. Like, okay, I get it. 1, 2, 3, catch. 1, 2, 3. Rhythm and math. Yeah, they my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. We have been on for a little bit of time now, so I'm gonna let you enjoy the rest of your night. I
Oh, it's a
appreciate you
pleasure.
once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity because I learned some stuff about myself even to this day. Like, yeah. And thank you
Amazing
for
when
that
we forget that.
opportunity for me to sit down and talk about myself because I don't talk about myself to, like, it's okay to talk about you, sir. You've done a whole lot, embrace that. It's you. You did it. So before we end, my name, Sherdale Smith.
Mhm,
I learned in 2014, I went on this music conference in Dallas, Texas.
mhm,
Um, and on my way back home, the flight to come back to LA, they overbooked my flight. So
mm,
they gave me a voucher to stay at the Four Seasons Hotel, some fancy hotel.
mhm,
So I get there with my luggage and I have my ID and I have my voucher. And so I gave it to the tenant and he looks like an Arabian guy, got the wrap on, type of thing. And so he puts my ID on his keypad and he's typing my name. Looks at me, he said, "Sir, do you know the meaning of your name?" Now, back up. I hated my name growing up.
mm.
My name was changed a couple of times in the spelling, and was just confusing. So I ain't want nothing to do with Shardale, none of that stuff. But I had to carry, when I came to California, they started calling me Sip because I didn't want them calling me Sherdale. Sip means Mississippi. So he says to me in Farsi, Persian, Shur means lion,
Mm.
means heart. Your name means Lionheart.
Wow.
I literally ran out of the doggone door. I was like, no, no, no. Like all this time, someone telling me from a different country the meaning of my name. I thought my mom would just scramble some letters and she took one out and she did some fancy stuff. To have this man from a different country say, "This is your name." I was born in July 24th, a Leo.
Leah, Lionheart.
And I would always say, man, I don't have the courage of a lion. I played the cowardly lion in the Oz movie before, but somehow, man, this lion thing and then Lionheart, the heart of a lion, like something, I don't know. But
Embrace it. Embrace.
Sherdale is something special. So
Yes,
I had to
he
love
is.
him. I had to appreciate and love him. And I thank you for the opportunity for me to reflect on what gift God has given me and what a gift I might have been for someone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And I can't wait to see you again and do some wonderful music things again in the future.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, with that, I love you and let's do it again in the next couple of months or a year.